guest tonight is a New York Times best-selling author and illustrator whose debut book is called Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History. Please welcome Vashti Harrison. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
First and foremost, congratulations on being a New York Times best-selling author. When you created the book, Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History, did you think it would do as well as it did?
I knew that Black women support Black women, so I was excited to have the book out there.
And what inspired the book? I know that you started it off with, I guess, one idea, one illustration, one story. But how did you go on to create a book that celebrates all of the achievements of some of the greatest Black women in American history?
Well, the initial project began on Instagram, on social media. I kind of wanted to create a challenge for myself as an artist to draw every day, and I was inspired by other challenges like Inktober and Mermay. So I knew I wanted to do one for myself, and Black History Month seemed like a great opportunity to, one, draw every single day and read about incredible, interesting, amazing people every day for the month of Black History. And I decided it would all be women. Because the theme of Black History Month, when Carter G. Woodson started it, was to highlight the stories that are not so big in the mainstream and are often neglected throughout history. And I thought it was a great opportunity to focus in on women and women of color whose stories have been doubly neglected through history. But once I knew it was going to become a book and it would be in the hands of children, and it could potentially be a child's first book, I knew I wanted to cover as many topics and fields of study as possible. So I knew it should include some big names and some big names not so big in the mainstream.
And when you created the book, I was really touched by the fact that you said you created it with your younger self in mind. How important do you think it is for young girls, especially young girls of color, to see achievement that is representative of who they are and what they look like?
I think it could be so incredibly empowering, and in the book I say it, to know a goal is achievable can be life-changing. For me, it was really important to show very different trajectories, very different fields of study. Myself particularly, I'm an artist, so for me, I thought it was really important to have every type of artist I could think of, because as a child, I thought, if I want to be an artist, I guess I got to be a painter. I guess I got to learn to love how to paint. But, you know, it took me a while to figure out that I loved filmmaking, and from there, it took me a while to figure out that I love writing stories for children. So in the book, there's Julie Dash, who is a filmmaker, Lorna Simpson, a photographer and visual artist, Augusta Savage, a sculptor, Alma Woodsey Thomas, a painter. So I tried to take that sentiment into the rest of the book as well.
You have so many different amazing women from different walks of life. And in the book, we have some of the images, actually, how you've drawn them and the stories that you tell in the backgrounds. And it's really cute, and it's a beautiful book that you would initially go like, this is great for kids. But I feel like as an adult, I was reading this, learning things that I never knew about, especially when you speak about people's stories and how they connect to one another. One of representation, for instance, blew my mind. Who would have thought that the first interracial kiss could tie to Martin Luther King, which could then tie to the first Black woman who is an astronaut? Like, tell us a bit about that story and how you came to discover all of it.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. That was one of the most exciting parts of the whole experience, is finding these connections. So Nichelle Nichols, who was one of the stars of the original Star Trek series, it was a groundbreaking moment when she got cast on that show. It was one of the first roles for a woman of color that was not in the role of a service, in service or a maid. And, you know, even more, Lieutenant Uhura was brave and strong and powerful, and Nichelle brought this incredible grace to the role. And the cast itself was incredibly diverse, and it was pushing boundaries. She had one of the first on-screen kisses with William Shatner,
yeah. I think both work.
Yeah, right? I think so. But it was at the height of the civil rights movement, and people would write into the show. They were just not comfortable with seeing so much diversity on a mainstream, on a primetime television show. And the producers responded by cutting her lines, relegating her to the background, and it was a tough move on her, because her background was in stage and theater, and she loved to perform, and she thought, well, you know, I might return back to my true love of being on stage. But it was a chance encounter at an NAACP event. Who would she meet? But Martin Luther King Jr. would come up to her and say, I'm a Trekkie. I love what you're doing. It's so
It's so
important.
insane.
I know. Yeah, it's wild. It's just, it's such a beautiful testament to how much representation matters. And he knew, and he told her. And she went back on and stayed on the show for many years. And his words would ring true when Mae Jemison, the first African-American woman in space, cites Nichelle's role as Lieutenant Uhura as her final inspiration for actually finally applying to the NASA program. She had seen Sally Ride go into space, but she didn't know if there was a role for a space for a black woman in NASA. But it was seeing her and knowing that she could be the representation, the idea was out there into the world. So seeing a reflection of yourself in other people can make a dream, become real. And it's just so incredible. Mae went on to, after she left NASA, she went on to guest star on a couple of roles on Star Trek: The Next Generation. And Nichelle later went on to recruit for NASA to encourage more women and people of color to apply to the NASA program.
It's one phenomenal story in a book of amazing, phenomenal women. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for writing the book. I know that people will love it.
Thank you.
Appreciate having you here. Congrats on your award. Little Leaders is available now. Vashti Harrison, everybody.